Okay, so in like 1991 or around there, you had no race car anymore, and you made a decision to do something that only a few people have ever done. Many have dreamt about, but you decided to do it, and there's quite a story behind it. So let's hear it.
Well, you're talking about Nitro. And yes, I had sold the Jet, and John Rossiter, who I had driven for, his alcohol funny car, John and I raced together for a couple, 4 or 5 years probably. He sold his operation, and I just felt I had to do Nitro. And Gloria, your mom, had a good job. I had a decent job, blue collar jobs, but then the money went a lot further, and we had a house that was partially paid off that could be mortgaged. So I originally talked to, because I was a little scared doing it on my own with a funny car because of the cost of the bodies, and you're going to blow one up
Or burn it.
or burn it.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
So at that point, I looked at a top fuel car, and Robert Reel, and I'm going to say he was a Texas guy, but I'm not 100% sure. He had a top fuel dragster, complete, for sale, that needed, I think, some updates on the wing, if I remember correctly. I talked to Robert. I can't tell you how much it was now, Jory, but it fit within Mom's budget and mine, and I was going to do it, and John Rossiter got wind of it. I'm not sure how, because I didn't think, I might have told my best friend Vince Vanny. You know, Vince and I knew each other's secrets and stuff. Anyhow, word got out that I was going to buy this top fuel car, and John Rossiter called me, and he said, "You're serious?" I said, "I got to do it, John. You got to do it." Well, he said, "I'd like to do it with you, but I would like to do it in a funny car." Yay, so would I. You know, deep down, so would I. And the reason for that was IHRA at the time owned or ran or sanctioned Dragway Park in Cayuga, and I think a couple of events out west. And John's idea was, and they didn't run top fuel at the time, so Nitro Funny Car was their only Nitro class, and John said if we ran that, we'd be the heroes of Canada, and sponsorship doors would open. So it was good reasoning, and I said, okay.
And they had Naperville. Or sorry, not Naperville,
Oh,
San Air.
San Air. That's right. That's right. We did have the two of them, Jory.
An NHRA race.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that was good reasoning, and we commissioned S&W Chassis. They were building funny cars for Bob Newberry and some of the real quick alcohol guys, and John was comfortable dealing with them, so we had Scott Wenny build us a Nitro Funny Car. It was the first one he had built, and we put a Dodge Daytona body, a beautiful car, just a beautiful car. Finished it up, went to John's place. I think John was with Jan at the time, married to Jan, and we went to their home in Stouffville. John had a nice shop there, and we assembled our boys, Donnie Palmer and Mike and Jeff and the boys. Kevin, Kevin, John's son Kevin. And we would start the car, get it hot on alcohol. We just ran it on alcohol, shut her down, and the boys went to work. And it was just so neat. We never put it on to Nitro. We didn't have any Nitro, which was probably a good thing. So we did all that stuff, loaded everything up, and went to Florida to Daryl Gwynn's shop. in Florida.
Why Daryl Gwynn's shop?
Because Ken Vini was Daryl's. So Ken Vini, I got to go back just a tad. I had a relationship with Ken Vini, and it was a pretty good relationship. It didn't start off that way, but it ended up pretty good. And I asked him if he would do. That's right. That was one of the caveats of John coming on board. He said, "I'll come on board with Nitro." He was scared of it. You know, a lot of guys are. And that was one of his caveats. "I'll come on board and we'll do it if you can bring me Ken Vini." We met. Ken had been the crew chief for Daryl Gwynn's operation with the Coors car, or whichever car it was, and had a Nitro funny car at the time. So Ken came on board, and we decided to go to Daryl's shop in Miami to get the car finished and then go to Bradenton to test. And I think we went down there for a couple of weeks. And it was just, as a side to that too, that was the first time I had met Daryl since his accident at Santa Pod in England. And, well, I wasn't looking forward to that. You know, the Daryl I knew was a vibrant, you know, up and walking guy. That's not nice to say that, but it was okay. It was okay. Daryl's Daryl, as you know, and he's a fighter, and we bonded, and everything was good. headers were wrong on the car. John had, or S&W, whoever built the headers, I guess it would have been S&W, had them in a bit tight to the car, and we burnt her up. No, I think they were swept back too much. They were somehow, they weren't right, and Ken Veeney was concerned if we lost a cylinder, that the balance would be ridiculous. Like, you know, you hear that now, how the cars push one way or the other, and it was something to do with that. So we had a set of headers flowing in from Bill Schultz, thanks, Jory. Yeah, which were tight to the car and burnt the side of the headers. In fact, that was one of our claim to fame. What there was a logo or a saying at the time on ESPN, hot
or not, or something like
yeah,
that.
we magic markered that in this burned out area on the side of the car, and it made television. But anyhow, we spent 2 weeks at Daryl's, back and forth to Bradenton testing. The testing didn't go well, I would say. It didn't. So I was very comfortable in the car, but quickly realized the alcohol car I drove one-handed on the little butterfly steering wheel. One hand doing this, the other on the brake to try to coach the car out of tire shake and stuff like that and just mess with the thing. My first leave that I did, back up and leave, I came out of the groove big time. And I looked at those tire marks and stood there and thought about it, and quickly realized it was two hands on the wheel and, you know, going over center almost. You had to be so aggressive with a nitro car. So I had that savvy to figure that out. And one run we made, we didn't have the fuel pressure gauge. We were very lucky we didn't blow the thing up, quite frankly. One burnout I did, the fuel pressure gauge wasn't working. So they bypassed it. Now you set the barrel valves, the throttles, by the fuel pressure. So in the burnout and backing up, you ran the car pretty lean. And you could see that on the fuel pressure. Without that, I had it too fat. You wouldn't know sitting in the car. And it left the line and faded out in 100 feet probably. Never banged or popped or nothing. We were really fortunate. So we dodged a few bullets like that.
truck? This one looks like that. Just like what they look like right there. I think that that's what was starting when you thought you opened them. Maybe there's something wrong with the pump. Look how you moved your hand, it just didn't move. You hit the throttle. Well, you hit the throttle, it didn't make noise. The pipes were extremely wet. You hit the throttle, it didn't make noise. Don't make noise.
It was wetter. Yeah, it was wetter before. Back on it was. I mean, it's still what it has enough to do.
See all that? Did you hear it take the foot out again? No, I think it's sort of weird. And I didn't try it. Safe to run. Well, I mean, it's like it wet stopped and wet. But it was always dry though. I think it is, oh yeah. Yeah, it'll leave with one pump. It just won't have any power. It didn't have enough power into the tire. You know, like it made the tire working. It wasn't going. It looked like it was uncomfortable.
The plan was to go up to Gainesville, Florida, run the Gator Nationals with the car. I don't think I was under power. I don't even know if I was under power for an eighth of a mile.
On that solo run that was for your to get your license finalized, I think.
Maybe an eighth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you went to the 8th.
Yeah.
On that first one.
You know, I think so too, because Jan Rossiter's wife, Jan Fowler, was taking video. And I think she held her breath for the burnout and everything, because at the end of that, you heard that on the camera. So I think you're right. But it wasn't enough to do the crossover from alcohol to funny car. So we called Graham Light, who was the director of competition for NHRA at the time, and lobbied him to allow us to race there. And
It's not like you were nobody going into Nitro. You had
No.
set the national ET record in alcohol in '89
Yep.
and going
Yep.
like 280 in jet car, and
Yep.
so it wasn't like you had
Yeah.
no idea.
no,
what you
we
were
had
doing.
some credibility,
Yeah.
and I think that helped us. And Ken Vini spoke on my behalf, and Jerry Gwynn, Daryl's dad, Jerry, and the track owner, Don Gartlett's his old partner, and I can't remember his name.
Art Malone.
Art Malone talked to Graham, said that these guys are doing fine.
That was the Bradenton track owner where you were testing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of these guys lobbied Graham, and we were Canadians, for heaven's sakes. You know, give a fellow Canadian a break, right? So we go to Gainesville. Graham says, I want to see 1,000-foot pass or 660 pass or something like that. Previous to
660, I think, and the
Yeah.
rest of the story is
that, yeah, we pushed it like Bob Elliott always
because it was a
does.
qualifying run too,
Yes, it was.
but you had to run
Yeah.
solo to prove that you could
Yeah.
take it that
Yeah,
far.
I was a rookie.
Yeah.
And I know prior to that, I went up into the tower looking for Graham to thank him for accepting us. And I, you know, a little boisterous and happy. And thanks, Graham, for, gee, you know, and he's like this. Nobody needs to know this. This is between us. On the solo pass, I pushed it to maybe 1,000 feet, and may have ran a whole quarter if the truth were known, but I heard and felt the engine go weak. And but it was a good run. It hooked. It went straight and everything. And when I got back to the pits, I said, I think something was wrong with it, and I shut it off. And when we serviced the car and went to start it, it wouldn't start. And scratching our heads, and I think it was Art Gallant who was doing the cylinder heads for us, said, well, Bob said he felt something or thought he heard something. And we started looking deeper, and it had sheared the crank key on it, and that's what had happened. The crank and the camshaft went out of sync, and it lost power.
Again, lucky you didn't blow it up.
Well, lucky that I'm not too smart sometimes with the right foot on the throttle, but this time, I mean, it was drilled into me. You don't fiddle with this thing. When something goes wrong, you lift. I didn't do too good at that later on at that race, but, no, I guess that was Indy. I forget where that was, but anyhow, that was the Bradenton Gainesville story.
As we get ready to go, and we were set to go at 3 o'clock. I don't think we're going to quite. As Elliott
goes out. He runs a 667 and 136. That'll move him up into the show. And
We qualified.
Not
No.
at Gainesville, missed the field.
We missed that's right, we crashed.
Tell that story.
Well, we had, so John bought most of his hardware from ARP, I think it is. They make grade 8, great stuff, head bolts, studs, all this hardware. And he ordered Nitro hardware from them. Whoever he talked to just assumed it was alcohol stuff. So he got sent, and he wouldn't know the difference. So the headers got bolted on with alcohol studs and nuts. And
No, the studs and nuts were different, weren't they? So the nuts were a different metal composition than the studs.
Maybe.
I think.
Yeah, no, you could be right, and that would do it too. At any rate, it was alcohol grade stuff. And we blew, I guess we got the short run out of the way, and then that was going to be our first hard run. I know it was in the right-hand lane because I hit that wall. I could remember that. And it blew the right side header off, and the car.
How far down the track were you, and how fast do you think you were going when
We
when the
were
header came
over.
off?
We were over 100 because those cars back then was pretty easy figuring. They figured 1 second, 100 feet, you were 100 miles an hour. And now, of course, they're bigger. Not a whole lot quicker than that, but that's what we were then. So I would think 100, between 100 and 120, maybe. And it went pretty near straight into the wall when it hooked around.
Supposed to do, but Elliott was not what Elliott had wanted to do. It took an instant turn to the right, and one of the nice things about the Winston Vision screen, folks, we'll have a chance to look at it again and again, quite possibly.
Maybe 50, 60 feet off the starting line if we haven't seen it again. Something came out of the right-hand side of the a passion before you turn around.
That's it, but you saw the blower belt speeding across the racetrack. So that was the burst of flame you saw was the supercharger or the car backfiring. It broke the blower belt and into the guardrail. It remains from the racetrack, the car, and we'll be back with more qualifying right after this.
We had no pressure from the header on that side anymore.
That's right.
The car in the groove.
That's
so
right.
It was literally the left side just pushing you
That's right.
to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could, but I remember doing the burnout and backing up after a burnout in a funny car. It's just, I wish everybody could experience that and see the crowd. And I looked up on the Winston Vision screen and see myself backing up. Oh, jeez. And then plugged it into the wall. The body went, sky high on the thing. It probably went 50 feet in the air. And that was our first outing in the car. So John said, well, that's fine. He accepted that. John was a great guy to drive for. He never questioned what I did behind the wheel.
If I recall, you got out of the throttle for going 120 and having the header come off under the rear wheel. You were out of the throttle before it hit the wall,
Well, thank you, George.
based on the video and what I recall.
Oh,
So, yeah.
well, that could
You
have
can
been.
hear the throttle go womp again when you hit the wall, obviously, because you're
Oh,
bracing
yeah,
yourself for
okay.
getting jostled around. but
Yeah.
that would show that you were out of it
Yeah.
before then. So,
I had a good feel. I've been really blessed, whether, whatever I've been in. I've just been blessed that I can feel and drive pretty good. And what we did then with the car after that, because we had the front half the car, we put a dry sump oil system in it. We had a wet sump at that time where the oil pan held all the oil. And John said I was kind of wishing I had to put a dry sump in it. So we did that, updated the car, even though it was brand new, updated it a little bit. And
what was the other little issue that you had at Gainesville with the plumbing in the chassis? Do you remember that?
Yes, Scott Wenny at S&W built it like an alcohol car, where there was one vent tube from the valve covers that went into an exhaust tank or a puke tank, they called it. And
So the valve covers emptied into the frame rail.
yeah,
And the frame rail emptied out a nozzle in the
Yeah.
back into a puke tank.
yeah, it
Yeah.
went through the frame rails and out the back.
Yeah.
And we blew one of those hoses off between the puke tank and the frame because it couldn't handle one hose couldn't handle the pressure, the back, not the back pressure, the sort of back pressure, but I can't think of the exact word. But
We had two very powerful streams of stuff funneling into one
Yeah.
hose, and it wasn't
Yeah.
enough.
no,
Yeah.
So anyhow, so we had Hearst had a welder at the time. Forget what they called the guy. We knew him through the alcohol car. So he came over. It was sort of sad, brand new car, and he torches a hole in the back of the car, welds a bung in there, and same on the tank. We put another hole in that, welded an aluminum bung on that because it was aluminum. Ran the second hose, and it was all good. So that was kind of sad, but just I'd say that was the only error that Scott Wenny did when he built
And
that car.
unknowingly.
Oh,
Yeah.
unknowingly,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I had no thoughts about that, Jory. And as far as the engine balance in the car, the height and the setback compared to the wheelbase, jeepers, he had it right.
Yeah.
I
We'll talk about that more, but the last thing about the Gainesville experience that I want to talk about, and then we'll do a part two of
Part two.
Columbus and Indy, because that's a whole
Yeah.
nother. There's two another
Yeah.
complete stories there.
Yeah.
Is what was it like being a Canadian driving a Nitro funny car with the name Northern Force on the side of it at Gainesville? Because I know how many Canadians go down. That's the first race of the year. So
I still, honestly, Jory, I still get guys talk about that moment having a Canadian to root for. So we had Frank Hawley previous to that. We had Gordy Bonin, both in Nitro funny cars. But now there's Bob Elliott. And we had a lineup. So should I jump to... Anyhow, we
No.
were... Okay.
just about Gainesville, that first time being a pro racing at an NHRA national event, knowing that you're driving a Nitro funny car.
Just the community, the racing community was, I won't say thrilled. Some would be jealous. Some would just show it off. Bob Elliott showed off. But for the most part, everybody was thrilled. Because it does, that excitement comes back into Canada and helps our local stuff too. Oh, geez, they can run a Nitro car out of Canada. What the heck? I thought they did snowmobiles and stuff. So I think it really helped elevate. Maybe that's too high a thing to say, but I think it was good for Canadians. We got well received and a lot of stuff written about us. A lot of we actually had a sponsor on that first car, Standard Auto Glass, which was a Canadian company, and I believe $20,000 they put up, and we put their name across the front of the windshield and a couple places
I think on the spill plates.
Yeah, on the
Yep.
spill plates. That's right. And so that was exciting. Holy cow! You know, in the alcohol cars, that would fund our racing program for a year, probably $20,000. And we made no promises that we were going to run a full schedule or anything. We knew our limits, and it was pretty exciting. It was all good, and that's it.